glasses are always kind of crooked because my nose is so bent. Is that straight? I don't know. My nose is... It's big and bent. It's big and it's bent. Just like my... Hi Sheddies, it's me, Eddie Stevens. I'm in my shed on a Monday, and the time is now 6:06 p.m. That's my time, of course, and it's my Monday. Now, usually my Mondays are Monday Run Day Fun Days, aren't they? Typically on a Monday, I go for a run every week. I go for a run in the Bosque, which is the forest which grows next to the river in New Mexico, and it's very scenic, very beautiful, and I'll often record my runs. And I'll make a little time-lapse video which I'll share on YouTube. I shared it on YouTube, I shared it on TikTok, and I've shared it on Instagram and Facebook and all that bollocks. And no one gives a shit about it. No one likes it. No one's interested in these videos. Some people will like put a little like there, I think, because they feel sorry for me or something. I don't know, but I don't bother doing it anymore. Actually, I haven't recorded these in a while, but I do run. Actually twice a week, but Monday is one of those days. That's the main day. That's the run that I never miss. But I had to miss it today because I'm still bloody ill from last week. Do you remember? I have been ill all week. I have been in agony. I've had a fever, body aches, cough. I've still got a cough now. That's the only really lingering symptom I have. I had to work while sick because if I don't work, I don't make money, and I had to pay for my bloody kids for Christmas. And I spent a fortune, all on my children. At one point, it was Christmas Eve, and I'd been working my ass off all day, and I was cleaning the dishes in the kitchen. And my kids were all laughing and having fun. And nobody offered to help me. They knew I was ill. They knew I was sick as fuck, and they could hear me coughing and cleaning. And I was getting so angry, and I didn't say anything because I was enjoying the anger. Do you know what I mean? I was really looking forward to complaining about it on this podcast and just in general, you know. Just like I was really happy when it got to about 7 p.m. on Christmas Day, and I hadn't received a single gift from anyone, and I started wanting to not get any presents, which is what happened. I didn't get a single present on Christmas Day. Isn't that awesome? It's really good for me because, you see, I'm a stand-up comedian, and I've barely been doing it over the last few years because I've been working on the misery part of stand-up. Now, everybody who does stand-up comedy knows this, and some people that I think is pretty common knowledge, that comedy tends to come from misery, right? The more misery you endure, the more comedy you can create, because you take that misery and you turn it into something funny. And so I've just been really focusing on that for the last couple of decades, really. And but I really ramped things up over the last 5 years. Like, I really ramped up the fucking misery to the point where I'm not even really doing stand-up. I'm just suffering. And the funny thing is, it's made me worse at stand-up. The last couple of times I've done stand-up, I've struggled more because I'm so unhappy. I don't even want to be there. Like, I don't want to make people laugh. People laughing makes me unhappy because I'm miserable and I want everyone else to be miserable too. Do you know what I mean? I realize what I've been doing essentially is I've overtrained. I've overtrained for comedy. And actually made myself worse. I need to take some time off. I need to feed my soul instead of just destroying it, you know, because it's just like working out, right? In the gym. If all you do is work out, when you're lifting weights in the gym, you're damaging your body, you're breaking it down. You need to rest the body and feed it in order to make it stronger. If you don't rest it and you don't feed it, you just break it down and you get sick and tired and worse, and eventually you die. That's what I'm doing comedically, spiritually, philosophically, emotionally, and sexually. So I'm gonna, this year, 2026, I was planning on like really ramping, like actually doing more stand-up and trying to enjoy it more, but I'm really not feeling confident. I'm kind of at the point now where my only hope is that it turns out I'm a sleeper agent. Do you know what I mean? Like that, I'm probably investing too much hope into that one day I just wake up and go, oh my God, I have to kill Donald Trump. And I kill him, and then I'm a hero. Not likely, though. a miserable start to Rugby Rants Banter. I do this quite often. Now, I know what you're thinking, Eddie. Why don't you just kill yourself? Yeah, of course. You think I don't want to kill myself? Of course I want to kill myself. I'm not allowed to kill myself, though, because I have kids. That's the catch, you see. That's where they get you. Oh, have kids, have a family, it'll be great. Till you want to kill yourself, and then you can't. You know, it's kind of a catch-22, though. I was thinking about it, because, think about it, I can't kill myself because I have children, right? They rely on me, they depend on me. My youngest in particular would be very sad if I killed myself. Right, so I can't kill myself because I have kids. However, if I didn't have kids, probably wouldn't want to kill myself. That's the problem, okay? Because I don't care how miserable you are. If you don't have kids, every problem in your life, any scenario you can think of is made worse if you add the words, and I have kids to it. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, I lost my job and I have kids. I'm getting a divorce and I have kids. I'm a pedophile, and I have kids. You see? See, my heart wasn't even in that. That's a funny joke. It's not that funny. But seriously, if you have kids, you're needed here. You don't get to kill yourself. On the bright side, if you don't have kids, go ahead and kill yourself. Do you know what I mean? If you don't have kids, and you're, I don't know, over 40 and you're still not happy and you don't have money and you don't have even good health care, depending where you live, and your love life's fucked, and you're just getting, like, if you're over 50, if you're in your 60s and you don't have anything good going on in your life still, you've got to kill yourself. You can't afford not to at this point, because this is what's going to happen, all right? If you don't kill yourself, if you're in your 60s and you don't have kids, and you don't kill yourself, this is what's going to happen. You're never going to kill yourself, right? You're never going to kill yourself. You're going to live a really long time. That's how things are going now. You're going to live to like 105 easily, just so you know. And you're going to be a fucking weird skeletal ET looking motherfucker that hasn't gotten laid in decades. And everything is terrible. And you're going to go to heaven. That's going to be real. You're going to die and you're going to go to heaven. And the people in heaven are going to be like, holy shit, you were 105 years old. That's amazing. So you must have had you had kids and grandkids. Did you have grandkids, great grandkids too? And then you're going to say, no, I didn't have kids. I had 3 dogs. Does that count? No, it doesn't fucking count. You're in heaven. You're 105. You lived to be 105, living through that shit, looking like that? With no kids, no reason to be here. You could have left any time and gone to heaven, had a great time. And you're just there, disgusting, aging, no sex, nothing. You fucking freak. You sick freak. By the way, this podcast was not an endorsement for suicide. I don't think you should kill yourself. It's just a sort of fun idea, a morbid, fun idea, all right? I'm not very happy with my life right now, so I say things like that. I'm sure your life is great, and it's well worth living for. Don't know what episode we're on. What is it? YouTube Music. That's where I listen to my podcasts. YouTube Music is the shit. I've got my phone upside down for some reason, and I'm trying to do this. Don't ask why. There's a reason. It makes sense in my little head, but... boom. It's Rugby Rant Banter episode, I could just turn the phone around, 273, let's go. Okay, ready, steady, go. We have to talk about rugby, don't we? And when I say we, I mean I have to. I mean, you can talk about rugby if you want to. There's just, I'm not going to hear anything you're saying, so there's no point. But I've got a lot of rugby to talk about because I was going to say I watched every match, but that's not true. I watched 5.5. I watched, wait, how many games are there? 2, 4, 6, 4.5 games I watched. Sorry about that. The last game I watched, and I'll get into it later, I only watched the first half because I had the results spoiled and my heart wasn't in it. But I've got lots of notes for all these games. Now, I actually think I have too many notes. What I did last week is I referred to my notes a lot, and I don't know if that was good or bad, so let me know at some point. The problem is, I made so many notes for a couple of these matches that I feel like they're probably not important and don't need to be said, and I have a sort of overarching feel about the match that all these little notes will kind of take away from. What I should have done is probably go through the notes for each match and trimmed the fat, got rid of some of the stuff I didn't need, and sort of put them together so that they fit the narrative of the game that I want to say. But that is way too much work, isn't it? Like, even as I was saying that, I feel like you were probably going, what the fuck is he talking about? Why would he just talk about the fucking rugby? So I'll do it. I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry. I'm doing my best. First game I saw, Sale versus Harlequins. Harlequins... See, somewhere in the notes I talk about this. You know what? I'm just gonna read through these notes. So the first thing I wrote was, I did players to watch. This is the only match that I did this for. And what I should do is do the players to watch for each match the week before. So you know I'm not just saying it, and then later they come up as important players. But I don't know who's playing next week. I haven't written a list. I'm not going to do it. Okay, but maybe at some point I will. But I did have players to watch. And for Sale, I did... I actually really like this. I think I do want to do this. I think I might do a YouTube video before the weekend, sort of midweek, with players to watch. Oh, that's a fun idea. I think that'll be fun because I'm enjoying looking at it here. So Sale versus Harlequins, my players to watch, 3 from each team. At Sale, I had Joe Carpenter, Rafi Quirk, and I can't even remember his first name, Harper. Now, for very different reasons, these were players to watch, because Joe Carpenter, I still think, is the best fullback in the country. At least English qualified fullback in the country. And he did have a good game. Rafi Quirk is the most talented, with the most potential scrum half in the Premiership. And then Harper I mentioned, because he's the guy that a couple of years ago, I think, he got dominated so badly in a scrum, or in a series of scrums, and looked so dejected that you didn't see him play for another couple of years. And now he's back. And last time I saw him play, after coming back, he didn't do too great either, which is a shame because he's huge. And I was hyping him up before that happened. He just seems to be one of those players who mentally isn't really there, like in terms of the mental strength. Like I'd be like that. I'm the kind of person, if I had a scrum, well, I take that back. I don't think I would if I was at that level, but like, I can understand why if you get spanked in a bunch of scrums and that's your bread and butter, you can let your head go down and get demoralized. And that's kind of what happened to him. In this match, I have virtually no memory of him, and I don't think I made any notes about him, which is probably a good thing for him, you know? Okay, first note about the game. I said Sale have to win this to have any real credibility as a title contender, because people are starting to really doubt Sale. But, I wrote, Quins are aggressively inconsistent. So, if Quins had beat the shit out of Sale, yes, a lot of people would have gone, oh, Sale are fucked. Sanderson's fucked. Everything's fucked. But I probably wouldn't, because I'd say, well, it's Harlequins. Quins are kind of like the Premiership club version of France, the traditional France team, where we've been saying for decades, you never know which France is going to show up. They could be playing the best they've ever played and then just be absolutely useless. Or they could be losing to everyone and then show up and beat the All Blacks. I suppose I should have said beat the Springboks, but traditionally it's always been the All Blacks who seem to suffer when France decide they're going to play well. But in this case, it was definitely the shit version of Quins that were there. I just saw Marcus Smith scored early on, didn't he? After 4 minutes, monumental cock-up with a quick Sale line out on their own try line, giving Marcus Smith the try. That was so ridiculous. They took a quick line out, fucked it up, Quinn scored. I wrote here, okay, I did have a note about Harper because it says Sale persevering with Harper at tight head, Sale penalty at first scrum, although it was wheeling clockwise with Harper retreating. I remember that now. They won a penalty, but can you really celebrate winning a penalty if you're a tight head going backwards as the scrum rotates? I don't know. I suppose you can. I remember playing sevens once, and I was playing prop, which means absolutely nothing, right? But I remember I hadn't really played prop in sevens before at that time. I hadn't played a lot of sevens even. And at the first scrum, I tried to like annihilate my guy, and he flew backwards. And I was like, oh, I killed him. And then I stood up and saw them scoring, and I was like, oh, he deliberately let that happen. So, you know, you never know. That's not quite the same as scrummaging in the Premiership, but, you know, it's not, you know, I'd like to think I would have held my own with that kind of tenacity. Next note, Sale look absolutely determined after that first try cock-up and muscle their way to a nice try on the wing for Alex Willis. That's in the 9th minute with Joe Carpenter featuring heavily. I noticed Joe Carpenter was prominent early on and then kind of faded out of the game a bit. I don't remember if he came off early or not, but I just remember that he wasn't as prominent later on. But that's okay. I feel like he's been out injured for a while. Then Quins immediately hit back. Here we go. Rugby chaos from two chaotic teams. Chaos suits the Quins brand, but Sale are supposed to be about physical might and dominance with measured attack. Yeah, early on, it did feel like this was going to be a high-scoring game with both teams playing crazy rugby. And as I said just then, Quins are known for that. That's their brand, isn't it? Sale are not known for it. It's not their brand. So it wasn't looking great in the beginning. Oh, yeah. Rucks, reading my notes, rucks are almost as Wild West nowadays as scrums. Iskro, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Iskro. If I don't pronounce a fucking name right, the rugby brethren crawl all over me. Even when it's a fucking, I can't even remember what the name was last time, but Brother Duncan, I think it was, went mental at me for pronouncing a French name badly. And I remember I did it half French, half English. I don't know why. I can do pretty good French pronunciations, and I can't remember what the name was or anything. It doesn't matter. It wasn't a player. I think it was a team. I don't want to think about it. I'm getting PTSD. Where was I? Oh yeah, Isgro runs into a ruck and hits Cowan-Dickey with no attempt at a wrap. But because Cowan-Dickey doesn't get hurt or pretend to get hurt, which players keep doing nowadays, it isn't picked up by the officials. It was as blatant as it gets. Yeah, there was a ruck, and he just ran in with a shoulder. He just shoulder charged Cowan-Dickey. I don't think he hit him in the head because that would have been a bit. I actually think he fucking did. I sound like I'm just making it up. I don't think he hit him in the head. Actually, no, I think he did. I think he punched him in the face and got away with it. It's disgusting. By the way, Luke Cowan-Dickey is playing so well this season. I'll tell you, he didn't have a good game. And I didn't put him in my players to watch, but I probably should have. Cunningham South, Chandler Cunningham South, so well contained by Sale. At one point, little Rafi Quirk took care of him very easily. He just didn't seem to be up for it at all. Iskro, back to Iskro. He's a sloppy player for me. He's fast and he can make things happen sometimes, but he's just as likely to throw a ball away or spill it or do something stupid as he is to do something really great ball in hand. To me, he looks like what he probably is, a very good sevens player. I don't rate him much as a Premiership winger. Even though he probably will have a good highlight reel. He is a good athlete and he can score some nice tries, but he makes way too many mistakes. Quirk moved to the wing at one point, and they said it was pre-planned to have fucking Gus Waugh come on at scrum half. I mean, I thought Rafi Quirk had a really good game. I think he was man of the match, wasn't he? He was good at scrum half. To be honest, he was better on the wing. But that doesn't mean he's a better winger than a scrum half. He's just meant, I think he spent more time on the wing. If he didn't spend more time on the wing, I guess he got better ball on the wing when he was playing scrum half the way he should. I will say this. So I love Rafi Quirk, and I do think he's worth persevering with, and I do think he should always be on England's radar, unless he keeps getting injured, which is very possible. But I'm on the record for saying I don't rate Gus Waugh. I hate him. I find him really annoying. I don't know why. I think I know why. I think it's because he looks like a Cumber Spaniel, and we talked about this before. And he gets all fired up and acts tough, but he just seems like such a little pussy. And it's amazing to me that he is technically an international scrum half. It's mental. But I will say this. He's a very, I'm not saying he's not good enough to play Premiership rugby. I would just put him in as one of the lower ranked scrum halves in the Prem. But as much as I love Rafi Quirk, and as much as I don't rate Gus Waugh, when he comes on at scrum half, because they seem to be wanting to start Quirk now that he's been back from injury for a bit, he does make fewer mistakes. There's no way around it. He makes fewer mistakes than Rafi Quirk. And there is an argument that that's not a good thing for a scrum half, the making mistakes. I mean, there's a great argument for that. Everyone would agree it's not good for a scrum half to make mistakes. But I've talked about this before. What would you rather have? A super athlete at 9 who takes the ball on, but box kicking isn't stellar and sometimes makes the wrong choice, takes the wrong option. Would you like that? Or would you like a passing kicking machine who puts the ball where you need it almost every time? And there's a big argument that you'd rather have the consistency. I think Rafi Quirk is good enough that he's not bad enough. His weaknesses with consistency aren't bad enough to eliminate him from being my preferred scrum half at Sale. But I could be wrong about that. I hope I'm not. I'm going to move on because I don't like to admit that. Okay. I wrote Kenningham, the hardest working flanker in the Prem, an absolute nuisance at every ruck. Is it Jack Kenningham? I think it is. Kenningham, anyway, in a terrible Quins performance, like team performance, still stood out for me just for putting his body on the line again and again and again and again. He's a great player. Luke Northmore was good at times, but in the second half, Quins were just reduced to tatters and no one could really do anything to stop it and no one could look good. But here we go. Marcus Smith, what a nightmare. Such a bad day for him. I wrote in my notes, can one match change everything for a player? Because this game, it's not the first time he's had a game like this, right? But it reminds me of when Charlie Hodgson toured New Zealand once with England. I have no idea what the year was. It was definitely later in his career. It was definitely, well after the World Cup win in 2003. It's like post Johnny Wilkinson. But Charlie Hodgson, I remember playing in New Zealand, and the whole England team didn't play great. But there was one game in particular, I don't even remember who it was against. It could have been the Maoris. It could have been any team. I don't fucking know. But I remember Charlie Hodgson playing badly, and not just playing badly, just not, to be honest, looking scared, not making tackles, and looking completely out of his element. I don't think Marcus Smith looked scared in that sense, but he did look a little underpowered. He looked a bit physically out muscled at times, and he looked mentally like he was fucked, like he was just had enough. He either needs to leave Quins or I don't know. I don't want to start talking hyperbolics again, but if I was Steve Borthwick and I saw that game, there's some play, and by the way, I was hyping up Finn Smith and Marcus Smith ahead of George Ford. Yes, George Ford had an easier ride in that game, but you don't really see George Ford play that bad. You don't see Finn Smith play that bad. There's something about a test match 10 that you want to see them keep their cool. And there were things that Marcus Smith did wrong that were not outside of his control. It was a very bad day at the office for him, and could, as I was hinting at, if Steve Borthwick saw that, I could see him and understand him going, maybe he's not who I thought he was. And again, that might be a massive overreaction. But for me personally, my rankings for England's fly half last week were Finn Smith and Marcus Smith and George Ford. Well, I take that back, because I think I've always said, or I've said for a while, that Marcus Smith is such a good number 23 that that's where I'd probably keep him. But I would say I rated Finn and Marcus Smith both as better 10s than George Ford, and now I wouldn't say that. Now I would say Finn Smith closely followed by George Ford, and then Marcus Smith is a maverick that I do like, but that concerns me, that particular game. Next match, holy shit, Bath versus Saints. I was quietly confident, but of course I would never admit to it before the game, because then I would shide us Saints. But I was surprised by the score. Not just the score, the manner of the game. We could have won by more. I say we. I am a Saints fan, but don't worry. I'm never going to be biased, because I'm a really bad Saints fan. As Mooney of Tribe Talking would say, I'm a plastic Saints fan. Let's see my notes. My first note is fucking referee with multiple exclamation marks. How's that for not biased? This happened before. Play on and check it after the try is scored. Could have been 2 tries in under 5 minutes. That's right. Saints scored a try, and it was a beauty. And the referee called them back, blew the whistle before he got the ball down, and said there was a knock-on. And then the replay showed there was no knock-on. So it should have been a try. And the ref fucked us. I said this has happened before. I don't remember what it was, but yeah, it's amazing to me that this can ever happen. Like, I'm not a referee. I'd be a shit referee. Even just like, I've refereed touch rugby before, and like when I'm playing, I see everything. I know what's forward. I know what's not. But when I'm required to referee and it's my job, I'm just like blowing my whistle, and people are like, what? I don't know. What's happening? Did you touch him? No? Carry on. I don't know what's going on. But I feel like if I was refereeing any game of rugby and I thought there was a knock-on, but the team that I thought knocked it on were on their way to score a try, there's no fucking way I'm blowing up. I mean, if it's a Premiership match and I have the luxury, which they're not afraid to use, of a TMO, I'm going to let them score and then come back and check it. Which is what they do, to be fair, 99.9999% of the time. But that makes it even more infuriating when they don't do it. Like, why didn't he do it? Why didn't he play on and then come back and check it? I realize I'm ranting and raving about something that had no impact on the score in the end, but it could have, you know. After 13 minutes, yellow card, and it's just been non-stop penalties against Saints. I did feel like the referee was all over Saints in this game. And then there were 2 front row tries in under a quarter of an hour for Bath. After 30 minutes, oh yeah, the most spectacular, explosive impact I've ever seen in a rugby match. It was, I hope he's okay because I'm laughing, but it was when Freeman, was it Freeman's attempt to score? Hang on, let me see. Yeah, another weird one. So Tommy Freeman was scoring, right? And he runs into Tom de Glanville, and de Glanville gets sent flying by the post. He got boshed into a post and he sort of went sideways, spinning through the air, and it looked, like I said, spectacular. I hope he's okay. But that would have been such an amazing try. It was very odd for the referee to disallow it. Because that was when, what was it, Beno Urbano was facing. Oh God, I'm checking my notes now. Was it for a someone tackled off the ball or pushed or blocked or something? Whatever it was, my notes will tell us everything. Beno Urbano was never affected in that try. He didn't even complain because he was facing the opposite direction. I think it's that. Oh, that's what it was. He's being held in a ruck, but he sort of stood up and was being held onto, but he was facing the opposite direction, tried to wiggle free. There is no way he was going to be able to, if no one was touching him, he couldn't have turned around and made a tackle or done anything to influence that run. So it was another bad call. There's a lot of bad calls in this game. It was biased against Saints and they still beat the shit out of Bath. How about that? Another very questionable disallowed try for Saints. How many fucking tries were disallowed? The commentators disagreed again. Seems like home advantage fucking Saints. After 52 minutes, Saints just look better than Bath. Freeman Rev? What the hell is that supposed to mean? I don't know what that note says. But it does say after Hendy lined up Arundel and dominated contact. Yeah, did you notice that in this game? George Hendy seemed to single out Henry Arundel, who's a big, strong dude, and ran at him and put him on his ass. It was very impressive. Hendy was very impressive in this game. Henry Arundel is a great player, but that just shows how good Hendy is. Now, I'm looking at my notes here. It says fucking amazing try, Pollock. So Arundel makes a good break. Chick dislodges the ball. Hendy picks up, legs it up the pitch. Pollock scores just to annoy the shit out of everyone because, God, that must be annoying to have. I never have to worry, unless he switches teams, I never have to worry about Henry Pollock winding me up because he's either playing for Saints or England. What's his name? Frosty, the former Exeter Chiefs hooker. Was that, I'm sure it wasn't the shortest time a player's been on before, but I think he was on for about 20 seconds before he got done for a deliberate knock-on. And I didn't actually agree with it. You know how I feel about deliberate knock-ons anyway. I don't think they should be a penalty. I think you should be allowed to deliberately knock the ball on. But I hate the deliberate knock-on law because the referee is supposed to magically know the intent of the player and whether or not they deliberately knocked it on or not. Like, sometimes it's obvious, but sometimes it's not. And in this case, I didn't think he deliberately knocked it on. Don't like that. Newcastle versus Bristol was a weird one, wasn't it? Because that was a relatively close game in the end. I'm gonna speed up through this because I'm bored. Newcastle versus Bristol. McCallum, the prop who scored early on, is absolutely fucking massive. Joe Batley needs an England shot. He's fucking excellent. After 10 minutes, bullshit call on Ollie Spencer for ripping ball off his feet. He gathered the loose ball. Ravuvu tried to grab it from him on the ground, and it should have been a penalty against the Bristol player. That is a fact. Do you remember that? If you didn't see it, I'm moving on. Ravuvu, but is it Ravuvu? I hope I'm saying that right. It doesn't sound right. He had a bad game. He was dropping the ball and just looking kind of shit. After 50 minutes, Newcastle are playing great. But in the end, when you have players like Reece Zammit, Ellis Genge, Mata, Ravuvu, and mostly Reece Zammit, to be honest with you, you're probably going to find it hard to get over the line. You're probably going to lose in the end. It doesn't matter how determined and disciplined you are. If you're Newcastle, you can hang in there for a while, but eventually that talent will tell. But this was a good step in the right direction for Newcastle. They weren't bad. I don't know what the score was at the end, but I'm telling you, if you didn't watch it, they were very much in it in this game. And that after the final whistle, I think they ended up losing by 15 points or something like that. And it doesn't sound great, but you could see the players looked pretty pleased, and they should have been. Because I know it's Bristol, and Bristol go hot and cold, But it was a really good performance by Newcastle. I would say Bristol were maybe 3 points better than we have 7 points better than them in the end. Gloucester versus Saracens. This was a crazy match. Another weird referee decision. 31 minutes, there was an off-the-ball tackle. Not only did this off-the-ball tackle not affect the turnover, you could actually see that the tackler, I can't remember who it was, pulled out of it. Like, he sort of goes to tackle him and then stops like this. And if you can't see me, I'm just holding my arms out. Like, he's making a very clear, oh, not trying to tackle you. So he's just sort of in a tackling position with his shoulders touching Theodan. And Theodan grabs him and pulls him over with him, which, if anything, should have been a penalty against Theodan for taking him out. It was a hilarious and stupid moment in it, after 36 minutes, where there's a penalty for Gloucester, and Ollie Thorley, seemingly unprovoked, shoves Nick Tompkins over, and then the penalty gets reversed, and he's apologising to his teammates, but it's like, what compelled him to do that? It was very strange. If you haven't seen it, you need to see the who scored in the end. He set up a try. I don't remember who scored it, but the footwork and the handling Thomas Williams had. It's in the 40th minute. One of the commentators actually called him a globetrotter at one point, and I thought, is he listening to my fucking podcast? Because I said Thomas Williams reminds me of a Harlem Globetrotter, the way he plays rugby. Mixed bag from Thomas Williams, though. Made some mistakes, but overall was bloody amazing, as per. Saracens winning that one. And then the final game, it was Exeter beating Leicester. Now, here's the thing. I saw the first half. It sounds like, from what I've heard, it was a bit of a shitty game with some very contentious decisions by the referee. As I said, I only saw the first half, so I can't comment that much. I just don't know. But from what I saw, I saw the Fislau try that Mooney of Tribe Talking was ejaculating over and telling me to suck it over. Now listen, it was all right. Like, I'm not saying that, like, Greg Fislau, remember, when I first saw Fislau, he was playing for the England under-20s, and I singled him out and said he's going to be an England player, he's amazing. And then I just haven't seen it since then. And I have no reason, I mean, I do actually. Every fucking time Greg Fislau scores, actually, any time Chiefs win, Mooney tells me to suck it at least once. As if I give a fuck if Exeter win. Although now I am not liking them winning. I'm sorry, because a lot of Mooney's minions are now following me, and I don't think, I have faith that they are not there to fuck with me. But, I lost train of thought there. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, he's making me not want Chiefs to win. They used to be my third favourite team, and now, if they're going to play Bath, if Bath beat the shit out of Chiefs, I'm going to be delighted, just so I can talk shit to Mooney about it. Except I probably won't, because I will say this in Mooney's defence: he's never really talked shit about Saints ever. In fact, he's only said good things about them. But it's like, the gaslighting is unreal. It's the thing is, I'm trying to think if there's anyone that I've said is good that Mooney. I'm gonna have to talk to Mooney about this. I'm gonna figure out which player. There's going to be at least one player that I know for a fact is amazing that he doesn't rate, and then I don't think he's great. But Jacques Vermeulen scored a great try for Sale. Was almost man of the match. So suck it, Mooney. But it's bloody annoying because I do like Chiefs, and I actually quite like Greg Fislau. I just haven't seen enough of him doing. Okay, so some of Mooney's minions. I should just say Chiefs fans. Sorry, some Chiefs fans have assured me that you need to see Greg Fislau play in the flesh to see all of the stuff that he's doing that isn't caught by the camera. in this game, the first half, I specifically tried to watch Fizzleau as much as possible. And actually, I was surprised how much I could see him. And I saw him rucking, I saw him tackling sometimes, and I saw him score that try that was quite a good try. You know, but it's not like a mind-blowingly awesome try. I've seen better. I think I've seen him score better. So, first of all, I think you can see... I don't know, like, again, I watch Saracens. I got no reason. I don't want to hype up Tom Willis. I hate Tom Willis because he is a mercenary traitor who abandoned his country. But every time I see Tom Willis play, I'm like, he's fucking incredible. He just causes problems. And like, I'm sorry, but if you're number 8, his primary job is ball carrying. And there's different style number 8s. Yes, I know you can get some that are a little bit more defensive, some that are a bit more attacking, some are more mobile, you know, some are more physical. But ideally, you want your number 8 to be a destructive ball carrier, and no one is more destructive at ball carrying than Tom Willis. No one in the Prem. And by the way, because people keep telling me that Fizzleau is doing all this extra work, I've been watching Tom Willis. I watched Tom Willis a lot, and he gets through a lot of work. Cunningham South, I will admit, I've gone off Cunningham South now. Not just from that one game. It wasn't like a Marcus Smith one bad match and you're done thing. It was... I've seen him look really good, really physical, for sure. But the last 2 times I've seen him play, he's just been taken out of the game. I think he can be... I think you can take Cunningham South out of the game. And I'm not sure... Maybe, I mean, there's an argument that a good team would take advantage of that, because whatever you're doing, if you're, for example, double teaming him, there should be space elsewhere. Maybe Quins just aren't good enough to... I don't know, though. Quins are weird. I'm getting all jumbled up. I don't know what's going on anymore. But anyway, Chiefs with another good win. I mean, it's undeniable they are looking good. They look like they could beat anyone. But can they beat Bath the way Saints did? Chiefs are number 2 in the league. Saints are number 1. I reckon, is it at Bath? Yes, it is. I see Bath winning this, but I don't think it'll be a beatdown or anything. What I'd love, to be honest with you, no, I'm not going to say what I would love. If Mooney didn't exist, I'd love nothing more than for an incredibly exciting game where Fizzleau plays like a man possessed and stands out and is incredible and gets in the England squad and then is a great England number 8 and takes Tom Willis's place and we don't miss Tom Willis anymore. I'd love that. First of all, that will not happen. Secondly, I don't want it to happen because I'd have to kill Mooney. He'd be so goddamn smug. It would be insufferable. That's the end of this pod. Fucking shit, wasn't it? It was shit, I think. I'm going to listen back to this and I hope... You know, sometimes I'll listen back to my pods and I'll be like, oh, that was terrible. I've got to listen to it and just see how bad it was. And I listen to it and I'm like, actually, that was really good. Sometimes I'm sure that a pod was great and I listen back to it later and I'm like, this was dog shit. Last week's I didn't really like. But then a couple of people said they really liked it. I can't trust anyone. I can't trust myself. I got to go. Follow me on Instagram at Eddie Stevens Massive. Follow me on TikTok at Eddie Stevens 0. Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. This is too long of a video. I don't see the point. I'm just going to keep doing it regardless. But I am going to start putting up little quick videos too. So I'm going to do players to watch. Just wait. It'll happen. Probably on Wednesday or Thursday. Well, it'll have to be Wednesday. So if you're listening to this after Wednesday, it should already be out. But that's it. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching if you did. Goodbye.